Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions Daily, 4 p.m. UK time, and obviously other times around the world, especially in places like the US and a lot of my friends over there in Australia and New Zealand are back again by public demand is Kian Golzari, and first visit to the show is Sharon Even. How you doing, guys?
Very good. Thanks, Danny.
Okay, so we've already done an in-depth with you, Kian, and everyone's seeing you on a weekly basis. So I think it's only fair that Sharon goes first in terms of introduction. So Sharon, would you like to tell everyone a bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I am Sharon. I am an Amazon seller. I am a mother. I am a wife. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also a YouTuber. And I'm also an Amazon coach. Oh, wow, I wear so many different hats. I do a lot of things.
And Kian, quick one on you.
Yeah, quick one. Kian Golzari from Edinburgh, Scotland, and specialize in manufacturing, sourcing, product development, all that cool stuff. Living and working in China for the past 10 years, quarantined back at home in Edinburgh at the moment. So yeah, feel free to ask me anything about manufacturing, sourcing, product development.
Cool. Owen Burrows, hi everybody. Juan is here. Hey, Danny McMillan, good to see you again. Hey guys, Salva's back here again. Hey guys, hello from Singapore. Elchin's here. Hey, Danny, Kian, and Sharon, good to see you again. Let's have a quick look in the feed here. Kathy's here. Nathan's here. Luca's here. Leah is here as well. Alan Gordon. Hey, Alan, I hope you're well. Herb is returned to the show. Hello, Herb. Right. So, what are we talking about?
You tell us.
Well, the title of the show, the title of the show is related to product selection in around the COVID pandemic. So, who's going first? Sharon, do you want to? You're kind of boisterous on this. This is a bit more your world, and Kian can fill in.
Yeah. So, I think I did kind of push on this mostly because I do one-on-one coaching, and like 90% of the calls are usually PPC. And over the last month, it's just been product research, because people are so lost with how they should be doing product research right now, which also locks in with sourcing, obviously, because you can't, like, business isn't as usual. You can't just do the usual. Just go on some softwares, which I'm always against, and just try and find products that way. So just pivoting and sort of changing and looking for problems and opportunities, and thinking outside the box.
So let's unpack that a bit. You don't use software, which is fine, because it's like fishing from the same pond. So if you're not using software, where are your products
coming from?
Where do you get them from?
Well, many ways. I have many tricks up my sleeve. I'll share a few of them. So I actually, in my own Facebook, I have like a whole list of 10 things which I wrote, like, I don't know, almost 2 years ago. So I've been using one of these methods for ages, which is obviously Pinterest.
Yeah.
First of all, Pinterest is very women orientated. It's mostly, I want to say mostly women use Pinterest. And I think
it's fair to say 70% or so women use Pinterest. Yeah. The
thing is, I use Pinterest in general, just as like a normal human, not just a seller or someone who sources products. And I also advertise on Pinterest. So it's a lot of hidden treasures there.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Another thing that I do is, and some people don't love that I do this, but I do it, is I go to photographers. When you go onto Amazon and you onto Google and you type in, for example, photography for products or product photography and things like that, 99% of them, when you go to their websites, they actually have their past work. They have a portfolio of work. If you're smart, you'll ask them to sign an NDA and not share your products, which I always do. But most don't, because most people don't know about it. And that is actually how I built one of my brands by accident. When I was pivoting, I was changing from one of my graphics designers to another graphics designer. And I was looking at their past work, and then I found a product and I was like, what is this? And then I went and I did some further research about it, and I saw that there was a whole market on Amazon. I built a whole brand around that. So none of the ways that I do product research are like your normal, traditional ways. And that the one that I just gave now, like there are so many hidden treasures in that, because like, look at, you're in the UK, you're in Scotland, I'm in Israel, although I'm originally from New Zealand. When we go onto Google, Google doesn't show us the same results. When you go into Google and you type in, I don't know, like physical product or product photography, the results I'm going to be showing and what you're going to be showing, they're not going to be the same. It's going to be according to our areas.
Down the data centers, localized data centers,
Yeah. So, and not just that, what I may type in and what you may type in will show different results. So you basically go onto their websites and you go to their portfolio, and yeah, my methods take longer, but usually they find the type of products that most people aren't finding, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's some of the methods that I use.
Look at her trying to keep it secret. We're going to get them out of you today, Sharon. Don't you worry. Kian, you want to fill some more gaps here? What's your take on what Sharon just said?
Yeah, I mean, like for now, I think like anyone who's sort of considering getting into like new products and new categories, you have to sort of be very, very self-aware of your situation. And then within that, you know, consider what is your budget for new products and new brands in terms of like what you feel will be like just a short-term sales increase or what will be like a long-term change in behavior. And within that, you also have to consider what is your propensity to risk, because, you know, a lot of people are talking about the travel industry. I'm in the travel industry. And people are saying good things about it, saying like, you know, there's all this pent up demand, and when it goes back to normal, it's going to boom. But I'm not so optimistic, because I know that like travel is considered somewhat of a luxury. And as a result, this has been like the biggest unemployment that we've had in our generations, right? So it's like, yes, people want to travel, but can they necessarily afford it? It's like not necessarily a necessity for people at this stage. And then the other thing is that like, if you want to develop travel products in a travel brand, well, you know, your lead time might be 60 days products from China, but we don't know when we're coming out of this. So we don't know when that sort of pent up demand is going to be unleashed. So unless you're like unless you're like willing to develop your brand now, produce now, hold stock right now, and then just sit on it and wait until travel, as we know, as it goes back to normal, then you're in a much better position, which is why I said you have to consider like your budget and your propensity to risk, because you don't necessarily want to be sitting on stock for a year, you know, depending on when we're going to come out of this. But anyone who's looking to like start afresh, I think the advice I always give is that like, you know, you need to start with your passion. And, you know, that's so like general and easy to say. But I think when you're considering getting into this business, you have to consider, are you in it for like the short term or the long term? Because if you're in it for the long term, then COVID or no COVID, you have to be building a brand which you think is going to be sustainable for the long term. But if you're just in it for the short term and to make a quick buck, well, then you're probably going to be doing like a lot of Me Too products. And the danger with that is that like everyone could be working on Me Too products. Like you could just, you know, be developing them right now, ordering them now. And by the time they arrive, you've got 200 competitors, which have all just surfaced at the same time, which is why I feel that like that's a very, very risky strategy. And you should maybe more consider, right, how can I develop something for the long term? How can I build a brand around this? And what sort of behaviors are changing as a result? And, you know, a lot of people are looking at Google Trends. And there's also another website that I just came in touch with. It's called like Trendly, but trend with 2 E's. So it's like Trendly. And that is basically ranks like the search volumes of certain things, and then it tells you how much is increasing or decreasing over the last week, last month, and stuff like that. So you can have a good look at that and say, all right, what do I think is going to be sustainable for the next 6 months? So like an example like that might be like home office. Yes, home office is going through a surge, but I think that growth is going to continue for the next year as a result of everyone. It's changed our behavior. You know, a lot of people have been laid off. A lot of people are going to be working from home. So I would also be looking at, right, I don't want to just get into home office. How can I innovate within home office? Like, how can I make what already exists, but make it better? Or maybe you consider, okay, a lot of people are doing Zoom calls. Maybe I need to get some nicer art on the wall. How can I make affordable art rather than just, you know, the expensive picture frames? So all these sort of conversations you kind of have to have with yourself. And then another thing is that, like, you know, consider even getting into different markets. Obviously, the world is affected by COVID, but from my understanding, like Germany is dealing with it a lot better than the UK and say the US. So let's say Germany has a faster recovery. Well, if you aren't selling your products in the UK, maybe get them into Germany, because as a result of whatever product category you're in, they might start selling, or their sales might pick up a lot faster than we will over here.
Yep. Makes sense. Just wanted to say some highs. Tiffany said it's a great point. You have to be passionate about what you're doing. Jason said, looking forward to another great call, Danny. Hope you guys are doing well today. Henrietta, says, hi, Danny, Kian, and Sharon. Thanks again. Cybe, lockdown Monday number 6. I'm trying to work out. I think it's either day 36, 35 in a row. Alan says, all good. Yario says, good to see you all. And Lucas says, hello from Rome in Italy. Hope you're safe, mate, because I know it's been quite devastating what's been going on in Italy with the virus and stuff.
Lucas, one of my clients, he's safe. He's fine.
Good. Yeah. No, I was going to say, because it's been Italy's had it quite tough, haven't they? So hope you're safe there. Good morning, guys and ladies, from Tiffany. And then in the feed here, we've got, hello, Joe. Ellie's here. The Joe here as well. Raphael's here. You know Raphael is. Fortune is here. Hello, Augustus. Hope you're well. Andrew's here. Kerry's here. I can't pronounce that name, so I won't embarrass myself. Abe's here. I got your message, Abe. I'll be back to you shortly. Actually, this is one thing. Abe messaged me and said, how are we going to organise these dailies? Because it's a mess trying to find them. And basically, Abe, just go to sellersessions.com. I'll put them out in the podcast every day. So you just can search by keyword in there and they're listed in sequential order. Ben Valence is here. I hope you're well, Ben. Declan's here as well. And Etsy is saying hello as well. Hope you're well, Etsy. Let's talk Etsy. But actually, Etsy, the store. Do you do any product research there?
100%. I do. I use Etsy a lot for product research. So when I'm doing product research, I've usually got like a few tabs up, right? Yeah. So it's usually always Amazon, Google, Pinterest, and Etsy. Always. I use Etsy mostly to look for what isn't yet on Amazon, differentiation, bundling, and how people are using the products as well. Because sometimes the way that we think people are going to be using them on Etsy, you're showing different ways. I also actually use YouTube as well. Sometimes you can find a product on Etsy and you go to and you look at it on YouTube, and then you see a YouTuber is like using, I'm just going to make up candle making. Okay, let's say candle making. So you find on Etsy a candle making kit, and then you go to YouTube and you look at YouTubers who are looking at that are doing like candle making videos, and then you see like different types of supplies, right, that they're using, and then you take that and you go to Amazon, you see, okay, it doesn't make sense, right? So yeah, I use Etsy a lot. Yeah.
Just to correct myself, typical me being a thick idiot that I am. Her name is Esty, not Etsy. So anyway, everyone's the winner out there. We still gained from my my lack of school knowledge and going to school. What was there was other thing? She's laughing now. Look, what was the other thing I was going to say? Unboxing. Let's talk about unboxing. Have you guys done just a search into YouTube unboxing? I'm sure you can find loads of products, because it's not just what you find on Amazon. It's every other type of product that sells on web stores and everything else. Let's talk about that for a bit. Kian.
So, well, for me personally, I've really prioritized the unboxing experience, but I've done it in a slightly different way. So for those of you who probably know, I was supposed to launch a travel brand in April, but I've pumped the brakes on that. But what I did was that I got 200 samples made up for influencers, right? And what I did was I basically developed over-the-top packaging just for those influencers. Even it's this nice vinyl box. It's got the bag in like a sort of vinyl print on top. They open it up, and what I did was I made a customized boarding pass for every influencer with their name on it. And then for some of them, I was even going to do those personalized videos, like the little LED screens that come in as well, of me making a personalized message to them. So they open it up and they've got like the bag, all these cool accessories. They got this personal message. They got a boarding pass, and it's like inside we've got all our social media tags and stuff like that. And I wanted the unboxing experience to be crazy, because influencers like to feel like they're important and they're getting sent cool stuff in the mail. So they always put it on their stories when they unbox something. So I'm like, okay, if these guys have got huge reach and now they're going to put the unboxing of my product in their story, and our tagline is right there. So even if they don't tag us, they'll see us, but they probably will tag us. And then I wanted to create that pent up demand for people to be like, what is that? Like, what brand is that? That's cool. That's the best packaging I've ever seen. But obviously the end user is not going to get that packaging, but that's considered a gift for the influencer. And speaking of influencers, anyone who does use influencers in their business, you have to really look at what categories have been most most affected by COVID, and now you can pick up those influencers on the cheap, because let's say, for example, travel influencers can't go out and make travel content, so they're just sort of sitting at home with nothing to post, but they still have a lot of engagement, and maybe the travel brands aren't necessarily paying them right now because they're not really promoting, so they can promote something for you if it's in a similar enough category. And not just travel, I'm sure there's a lot of other categories which have been affected as well. But yeah, going back to the unboxing, I tried to make that as special as possible. But then in terms to packaging, I'm always looking at like, how can I make a packaging part of the product as well? So like when you use the packaging, like let's say, for example, I think Danny, I gave this example on a show with you before, like for micro towels, it's packaged in a mesh pouch. So the pouch is then used like for when you actually want to store your towel, and it's the packaging. So it's like you're not using any card or anything like that. So yeah, and also like eco-friendly packaging is getting really popular just now as well. So I'm always looking at that sort of stuff.
What's your take, Sharon, on unboxing? Is there anything you've spotted along the way that's been beneficial?
If I take the unboxing to product research, right? So if I go into the product research, and because I do product research, or I teach to do product research as well using YouTube. So I'm just trying to think randomly of like a niche, but if we stick to the candle making niche for a second, right? It's in my head because I've got a candle here. Or even, you know, like even baby shower gifts and all sorts of gifts where people need to like bundle products together, because there's a whole niche. We need to remember that most of us, I personally sell in America. So most of us are selling to Americans. And in America, for example, I know right now it's not because of COVID, but like wedding gifts and baby shower, and even bridesmaids and maid of honor proposal gifts as well. Like they actually propose to their maid of honor and stuff like that. They buy boxes and then they fill it up with all sorts of things and things like that. So if you go to YouTube and you look at how, it's not just unboxing, but in general to YouTube, and you look at how, like what kind of supplies do they put inside of those boxes, right? Like, I don't know, like a candle or all sorts of different products. What do they put inside? And they can give you a lot of ideas for products to sell as well. But on YouTube, the way that I usually use YouTube for product research is I'll have some sort of subjects in advance, right? So I'm just going to use homeschooling as an example, because I'm stuck at homeschooling now because my son's home. So I'll go to homeschooling, and then I'll look at all sorts of YouTubers that make videos on the type of things that they bought on Amazon, because most of them will have affiliate links to Amazon products. And like 90% of them have some sort of affiliation links. And you go to that, and that can give you a lot of ideas for products and niches in general. And even if it isn't that specific product that you start with, it can open your mind up to specific niches, and you can go and hop onto Amazon and have a look if that makes sense. And it can give you a lot of random ideas. I found, did you know that insect pinning is a thing? There are people who actually take dead insects and pin them, and like that's their hobby, right?
Jesus Christ.
They're dead.
Do they need to go and see a psychiatrist or?
No, it's a hobby. It's just like this thing that people like to do. But the thing is, there are a million hobbies that you and I and Kian that we don't even know about. But these people need products. Like they need supplies. They need these types of things. And I actually found insect pinning from going to Google and typing in hobbies, right? Because every hobby has some sort of product that it needs. Every hobby. There's no hobby that you'll find that won't need a product.
Yeah.
And then I found insect pinning, and I was like, what the hell does that even mean? And then I went to YouTube, and I even made a video about it, which I haven't put up on YouTube yet, but it's a pretty gross one. But it's still, they need products, right? There's actually a demand there. So yeah, that's some tips there.
Kian, do you pin any insects at all?
Not at the moment, no. I've just been a bit busy, but maybe I'll get back around to it when things clear up.
That's a good one. Let's explore the niche of hobbies. Where other areas can we look in terms of hobbies to find ideas for peripheral equipment for hobbies? Obviously, sports is an obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if we're going to look at like categories, right? So I think you have to look at now new subcategories which are going to emerge inside the categories that you're already in. So fitness is a real obvious one, right? But and Sharon actually told me this, so I'm going to give her credit for this. But like now, look at like kids within fitness, right? Because like kids are at home now and they're all eating a lot, they're chubby, they're not running around, so kids are putting on weight. So rather than just like doing your normal fitness products, why don't you just create a brand around fitness products for kids, or whatever like niche that you're in? Now sort of like niche it down smaller into like people who have been affected. Even like the baby boom and stuff like that. There's a lot of people who are stuck at home, so you can sort of guess what they're up to. So by beginning of 2021, we're probably going to see a baby boom as well as like pets as well. Like my cousin adopted a dog because a lot of the shelters were needing people to adopt pets because they were obviously had to close. So I think a lot of people just like, brought dogs and stuff like that into their homes. So I would really sort of look at those categories, home office as well, which I mentioned, survival, like prepping is a big one as well. And it's quite funny because like the prepping market was already like quite big before this. And now like just a lot of people know about it.
I tell you something that could be quite useful. If you can get the design right and package it up right. Everyone in lockdown is cutting their own hair. Like I'm lucky my wife was a former hairdresser, so not that it shows I've got bald head, but even when I have to beg her to cut my hair because she hasn't done it for years and she doesn't want to do it, and I normally go to the Turkish barbers. What I've been thinking about the last couple of days, where you get the mirrors so you can see all the way around, and you keep seeing like the clippers that are coming up on Insta and stuff like that. Being able to cut your own hair in lockdown will be key. And I think even after talking about behavioral changes, so if I go to the barbers, Turkish barbers, you do the hot towel, the Turkish coffee, everything, it's 30. If it's in London, it's more, but I live outside. So it's 30, 35 quid every time you go in. Great experience and everything else. But being on lockdown, if you want to do this on every week or every 2 weeks, it starts to build up in terms of cost. But wouldn't it be nice if there's some tools out there where, not only get high class clippers with adjustable blades that are able to do your hair and do your beards, but what about the mirror system as well? So you can see around the back. What about the videos and stuff that you can build around it? And I think there could be a good market there. Now, I know you've got Remington and you've got all these different brands that are, Gillette and stuff is going to be difficult to compete with. But if you put a package together, and reflect on that, like you said, niche down, that could be a good little market for people to go into as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that's actually a really good example of, what we talked about in terms of like, okay, what behaviors are new as a result of COVID, and do we think they'll stick or not? Because people might get used to cutting their hair at home and then might realize, oh, actually, I'm actually quite good at this. So maybe I'm just going to continue cutting my hair at home.
That's my point. Yeah.
A new category has emerged. But if you're not so confident about it, then then don't focus on it. But it's kind of like anyone's guess whether these things are going to stick or not. But I think you can use like YouTube search volumes and stuff like that, because the algorithms on YouTube videos, if something's getting like all of a sudden 10 million views, then it's going to continue to be in rotation. So even after COVID, people are going to get used to these sort of things.
Yeah, indeed. Selva said haircut accessories are selling well in Singapore now. I think everywhere. I mean, I've just been looking. A big shout out on the show. I'm looking for high level quality barber clippers. What you normally find at Turkish barbers. Anyone out there know of any brand? You go on Amazon. A lot of the clippers are sold out. So I'm looking for very specific, good razor sharp Turkish style barber clippers. Anyone out there, let us know. Sorry, Sharon, I butted in there.
I just want to add to like the niching it down. So when I do, for example, like a one-on-one product research call, because adding to what Kian said is doing something that you're passionate about. So a lot of the time I'll be like, okay, let's sort of play a game, and I'll ask the person, give me 5 things that you're interested in. Yeah. And then I say, okay, now let's have a look and let's break that down to the type of people that you can sell it to. So then I'll look at, okay, so we've got adults, we've got kids, we've got teenagers, we've got toddlers, we have special needs people, we have women. Then what kind of women do we have? What kind of men do we have? A lot of people forget that there are products, like if we expand on what Kian was speaking about, because Kian and I were talking about this earlier, about fitness, right? And how he says, fitness in America has one of the biggest obesity issues in the world. And so then when you think about fitness, most people are like, yeah, but sports and fitness products are really, really saturated on Amazon. So then you need to break it down and be like, okay, well, what about fitness for seniors, fitness for for children, fitness for etc. And that's how you can really sub-niche as to what Kian was speaking about. You can sub-niche and find opportunities. And these are actually things that, COVID or no COVID, these products were selling well before, and they'll continue to sell well. And there's a million products that it doesn't actually matter if there is a recession, there isn't a recession, there is a pandemic or not. There are a lot of products that will continue selling as usual that are not essential products. Like a yoga mat is not an essential product, but it will continue selling well with or without COVID, right? So really niching it down and thinking also about what kind of buyer buys this, because most people just think about like their own inner circle, right? Like what about people, fitness products for people who have special needs, right? Or disabilities, those types of, you know, everyone usually just thinks about adults or kids. That's the two options. But apart from that, adults, you can break that down. There's women, and then there's women who gave birth, after birth. There's men who, you know, different types of niches within that major category. And that's how I find really good opportunities. You know, Kian and I met because I needed help with a product that one of my clients is inventing, Declan, who's watching us right now. And he's invented a product. And we found that product from looking at different types of, without giving the niche away, different types of medical issues that people have. Yeah. So when you think about medical, most people straight away think about creams and things like that. There are a million products that don't need FDA approval that are still technically helping some sort of condition that someone may have. Like, did you know that there's such a product called a damn it doll? No. It's a doll that you take when you're angry and you throw it against the wall, and the seller
and you use the word damn it.
It's called a damn it doll. Like you go, right, damn it, and you throw it. The person who created this brand, they make over 100K a month on Amazon. They have like a million damn it dolls and different, there's like Donald Trump damn it dolls and different types. Like they created that because the issue was stress. How do you get rid of your stress and things like that? So when you niche it down, you break it down that way, you can find amazing opportunities with or without COVID, right?
Yeah. Juan says, number of views is a metric that everyone can see, but is there any tool for keyword volume search on YouTube, like a Helium 10 for Amazon? There isn't really. Go on.
So there's a tool called vidIQ, just VIDIQ, and that gives you a lot of analytics on channels in terms of what keywords they're ranking for. And I know that because I'm in the process of starting a YouTube channel. So
and you've got TubeBuddy as well, but they don't give search volume. What they do, from my understanding, they give percentages and relevancy to that. Is that right, or is there search volume? Can't remember.
Oh, no, you're right. Actually, I was using vidIQ to check the results and the rankings of certain keywords when people search for it. But obviously, Google's connected to YouTube, and Google Trends possibly could give you that information.
Yeah, what I would say is one thing you can do.
On Google Trends, you can click on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, what we're saying, Sharon, is I don't think there's an absolute tool that shows you the actual search volume on a monthly basis, right? Yeah. But one thing that you can do, which is very back of a cigarette packet kind of calculation, is take the total number of views and then divide that by the time period that the video has been live for, whether that's if it's in the single month or it's in months. Subdivide that down to get an idea. It's not great of engagement. So if it's been up 12 months and you've got 12,000 views, you know that's got an average of 1,000 views a month. Obviously, in the earlier days, it'll get most of the views and then it will start to peter off. But that'll give you a little bit of an idea towards some level of engagement. Because sometimes you see on the search results pages, you search for keywords and then you'll find that a video's got like which YouTube boosts them up. So you might say, let's just say Amazon PPC, advanced Amazon PPC. You might do a search and there might be a video there that's got 25,000 views from 4 years ago. And then one below that, it might have 2,500 views in position number 2 that was published 3 days ago, because there's like a uplift in the algorithm. So that could be quite tricky. So it's not always easy to tell, but if you want to look at in comparison on the page, let's just say all of the videos are above 10,000 views, then that gives you an indication. And then you look by how long they've been published by. So that'll tell you a bit about the engagement as well. If you've got 10,000 views and it's been there 4 years, or 10,000 views, it's been there for 4 weeks. So kind of try and read between the lines on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no? Sharon, you're the queen of YouTube. Tell them.
I'm so not the queen of YouTube. I'm on YouTube, but like I'm amazing when it comes to numbers and Amazon, but I'm so not on YouTube. I really am not on YouTube that great, right, Kian?
No, your YouTube's very good.
Okay, so what about Instagram? Ways and means of searching on Instagram using tags to find products. Go, Kian, because you're the Instagram king.
Kian is the Instagram king.
So I don't really use Instagram for like looking for products. I use it a lot myself, just to get inspired, to get motivated, to look at a sector as an industry as a whole. But I tell you one thing I do like to do, right? So for the whole branding experience, I like to create like a customer avatar, right? And that's basically, if your brand was a person, who would they be, right?
Yeah.
And I basically, for my travel brand, I found this particular influencer, Sam Calder, and I was like, right, if my brand was a person, it would be him, because he's sort of like young, adventurous, likes to do daredevil stuff, likes to travel the world, new experiences, try different foods, all that sort of stuff. I was like, he is my brand. So I was like, right, now how do I basically get the information of people on Instagram who are now going to connect with my brand? So I went on his Instagram profile, and every time he posts, what I do is I read every single comment, and there's thousands of them. And I go on the profile of the people who are writing the comments. And if it's a public profile, not a private profile, I then search their profile, and I'll see like what kind of clothes do they wear, where they hang out, what sort of disposable income they have based on what sort of stuff they're posting. And I'm basically building the customer avatar in my head of the people who engage on the feed of the person who is my customer avatar. So that's kind of like the way I use Instagram. If you really, really want to know and unravel the layers of the people who are your potential customers, and I just try to address their needs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So how, if we were going to look at, if you were to use it for that, I mean, Sharon, maybe you could answer here.
Yeah.
Give us some ideas what you would look for. What kind of tags would you suggest people look for to get ideas? Because obviously, there's, especially things like food related, exercise related, there must be some tags that people can use that get some ideas.
I usually am not using Instagram for product discovery. I'm usually using it in order to understand the product more in depth, right? And it's interesting, like the whole circle, because Declan's watching, and that's the reason Ken and I met, and Ken and I became good friends out of it. But for example, with Declan's product, with Don't Worry Declan, I'm not going to give it away. In order to understand the product in depth, I went to Instagram because I understood that actually a lot of women use it. So I went to Instagram and I used all sorts of different like keywords, hashtags that are related to the product. And then I found the women who are using that product. And then because they put up an image of it, I went to their accounts, and then you found all sorts of other products that they use. And then you're like, oh, wow, like here's a bunch of potential products that we can later on either bundle or add to this product already. Like I'm gonna quickly try and think of something random. Well, let's stick to the candle making for a second, okay? So I'll go to candle making, I don't know, like hashtags. I'll just try random like candle making hashtags, and then I'll go to someone who shares. And you know what, you guys can laugh, but candle making products make a lot of money on Amazon, and you can get a lot of ideas from Instagram, because what these influencers do is they share different things that they've done, and then you can also see suppliers, things that they've done in general, other products that they use, maybe that aren't to do with candle making, but other arts and crafts based products. You can get a lot of ideas from just looking at their page, or like, what do you call it on Amazon, on Instagram? It's not, is it a page? Look at their Instagram profile. Profile. And then you can also from there, like, look at other things that they've hashtagged. And then it's kind of like, I'm going to compare it to like the rabbit hole method. You know, when you look at one person's account, then you go and click on their hashtag, and then it takes you to another hashtag, and like 20 minutes later, you could have like 5 potential products written on a piece of paper. Boom, go to Amazon, start checking it out. Yeah. So, and be open-minded. Just because you may have started with candle making, maybe that isn't the product, and you see on that person's profile another product, right? Like with Kian, maybe I'm looking at Kian's account, and then I'm like, oh, wow, what's this amazing travel bag? And then I'll see someone who liked his travel bag, and it'll actually take me to a totally different product, right? So being open-minded to other products as well. Yeah. I love Instagram for it's not product discovery in my opinion, but it's just to understand the product more. And
the other thing that is we haven't brought up is brand analytics. People just, it's so powerful. People forget about that. If you start with a broad term. For instance, I've got a beard. If I search with beard, it could be beard oil, beard wax, beard shampoo, and it starts to give you like a load of different ideas, beard clippers. If you start broad, all departments, and go through them that way. The other thing that we noticed with brand analytics, a lot of with the search volume on tools, for instance, a lot of main keywords are like macro. Main keywords are in brand analytics. If they're not there, generally these are searches that have got 10 or less searches per day.
Yep,
which is quite powerful when you think about it. So there's only a certain amount of keywords. So a tool might generate you 50 variants on there with guesstimation of search volume, but a lot of those will bring you less than 10 searches a day. So effectively, it's a quick way of finding products, but it's an ugly way of finding products is using brand analytics.
I found a lot of potential products using brand analytics, but a lot of the time it isn't necessarily just for a keyword. It would be kind of like putting an ASIN in and then finding the keywords that they have. It's just because Declan's watching us, his product's stuck in my mind. So I'm trying to think of another type of product. But, and the reason his is in my mind is because, and Declan, I apologize, but it's because we discovered his product from looking at keywords related to one specific type of problem that humans have. And then we discovered, and it was actually through, I actually think it was through Instagram and other things, but also brand analytics definitely 100% like confirmed it, that there were like 3 different niches that you could target, right? So I'm going to, I'll give an example of something that can be marketed to 2 separate people. I can't think of anything right this minute, but one product that maybe we would be using it, I've got a bottle here. I'm going to use a bottle, for example. Okay, so let's just say that terrible example, but I was looking at this as a fitness bottle, right? I'd go to brand analytics, I'd put in the ASIN for the #1 seller, and then I'd see, wait a minute, like their #1 clicked for motivational water bottle. Right. And I didn't even think about the word motivational, but I got that from looking at brand analytics. Yeah. Right. With things like that. I don't know if that was a good example, but I think you get the point.
Yeah. Never sell water bottles though on Amazon. That's the worst.
I only use examples that are really bad. Water bottle, my following will probably laugh because it's
the reason I say that, because in the past we've had clients and we've had, you go back and you get caught up with a lot of inventory that you end up dispose of. But I'll give you a reason, and this comes back to keywords and stuff, is that people go for the broad term. Like, let's just say you use water bottles as an example. There are people doing FBN selling plastic water bottles for $1.99. So let's just say you want to launch a water bottle that's £20 because it's an infusion bottle that you put fruit in it. You can't use water bottle as a keyword. 1, it's too competitive. 2, they're going to the price disparity between that, a £2 bottle and £20. People can't get their head around it. So again, you can mistakenly go after keywords like water bottle that were never going to be able to fit a more high quality product that actually does other items as well. So very careful when you're doing product selection is hitting the right sub-niched keywords as well.
And making sure that they're actually getting sales from that sub-niche keyword as well, right? Yeah. So, but I personally, when I launch a product, 99% of the time, personally, and I think, Danny, you're the opposite, I'm not usually going for the main keywords anyway. No. Okay, cool. I'm always anyway looking for the longer tails and the sub-niche, like how I can sub-niche it.
But that only works in the US though, because there isn't really as much long tail in like Europe, right? So to address that, do I go after the main keywords in non-competitive or less competitive areas? Yes, of course you do, because they are the long tail effectively of the bigger, higher velocity markets. And it just depends on what you've got and your competition. Ultimately, a keyword has a product market fit wrapped around it. If you don't meet the requirements of that keyword, the best way to understand that, I say to people, and what they forget every time, put your keyword in and look at all the products on the page. Does your product look anything like them? If they don't, that's probably the wrong space for them, that you're targeting the wrong keyword.
An example I use on one of my PPC videos is I actually use the water bottle versus baby milestone blocks. So baby milestone blocks at the time when I filmed it was not really that saturated at all. And baby milestone blocks was the main keyword for the actual product, right? Baby milestones way too broad, but baby milestone blocks was definitely one of the main keywords. And at that time, I would have gone for that as a main keyword. But water bottle, which I don't think anyone should sell any type of water bottle, but let's just say if you were going to sell, I don't know, like a motivational gallon water bottle, I wouldn't even think about the keyword water bottle in my lifetime, like as a main keyword anyway. So, but yeah, it was a bad example for the water bottle, but you get the point of how.
But what we're doing is we're free flowing, we're bouncing around off of ideas, and it was just like, I know from the history of water bottles and the problems behind going after that keyword and what people will face. So as part of product research is understanding what search terms are going to be working for you. I'm just trying to save a few people a few grand, that's all. Kian, let's bring you in. Any other forms that you want to jump off the end of this conversation, or do you want to start a new one?
Well, I'll probably start a new one because that's not really my area of expertise. But I would say that, like, now we have to really consider that. I think obviously it's known that a lot more people are online shopping because that's what we have, and the people who weren't online shopping before are now doing it. But we also have to consider that I think the average budget of the typical online spender has gone down as a result of the unemployment and things like that. So what you're seeing is there's more people on the internet, but they have less money to spend. So what does that mean? And I think that if you're more luxury or you're more high-end brand, you might want to consider, okay, now I have to balance that out with maybe less expensive offerings to your list. Maybe you want to be doing like maybe a sub brand, which is maybe slightly like a down a level, or you may just want to offer like cheaper alternatives or accessories to then complement your main luxury items, because you may also see a dip in sales as well. And I think another thing is that, like, we really have to consider how we can improve the customer experience, because a lot of people are using this opportunity or this time that we're in to enter new products and maybe like uncharted waters, whereas you can also just take a step back and take a deep look into your business and be like, really understand, like, use this as an opportunity to really understand who you're selling to and who your audience is, and then dial that experience, the product set, the communication, the messaging into the audience, which will show up in your conversion rate, which will drive better paid advertising performance, which will going to show in your algorithm, make ranking a lot easier. So like, I would actually look at fine tuning and maybe getting 1% better or 2% better at all these different aspects in your business, mainly on the whole like messaging and branding experience and conversion and stuff like that. So maybe you want to do like, I don't know, some questionnaires or some polls, or maybe pick up the phone and like call up a random customer to, find out how you can serve them better rather than looking at new products and new categories. Look what you can do better within yourself. It's like work on your business, not in your business. Yeah.
Makes sense. Sharon, anything you want to add on to there?
No, I think Kian's spot on. I think that I have 3 brands on Amazon. 2 are 2 separate beauty brands and 1 baby brand. And when I say baby, it's actually not baby, it's for women, but it's in the baby brand. And I'm very much like our beauty brand took half of a hit because one of our beauty brands is very high end, and it took kind of a hit about a month ago when Amazon changed the dates, right, to like a month from now, because there were 3 sellers who were never even competition. And there were 3 sellers that had the delivery date was a week from now, and everyone else, including us, had a month away. So our sales went down for a while dramatically there. And I was doing exactly what Kian was saying. I said to my husband, let's dab down and see what we can do right now to improve on what we already have and how we can make that better. And it's actually helped us to think of like bigger opportunities within this brand that we kind of stopped adding things to it. So I agree with Kian, and also having a look at your current brand and what you're currently selling and how you can make it better. And good one, Kian.
Cool. Right. Any more questions in the feed before we go? Is there anything other stuff that you guys want to add?
Well, yeah, I would also like to add, while we're talking about product research and things like that, I think supplier research is now more important than ever. Because,
let's talk a bit on that. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like you have to be more diligent than you've ever been before when placing orders to the Far East, and when contacting suppliers via platforms like Alibaba and Global Sources and things like that, because, and especially 1688, I would stay the hell away from that platform, but that's another conversation. But I would say if you have a pre-existing relationship and you've been to China and you visited your manufacturers, you can call them up, everything's all good. But if you're like looking for a new product, as sort of the categories we were just discussing, and you're getting into this for the first time, and then you just find a random supplier on Alibaba, if you don't source it the right way, then you may risk, because look, like let's say in like home and office or whatever, fitness, you might see an emergence of a lot of new middlemen entering the category, right? And as a result, if you don't check like on Alibaba, like how many years they've been in business, if they've been in business like under 1 year, rather than like for 10 plus years, well, they might be a middleman who's just waiting to swoop up like a nice 30% deposit and then leave. So you have to be very, very, very careful with, you know, maybe this is a time where you want to use like trade assurance. I never even like sort of purchase through Alibaba anyway, but if you are, make sure you tick those boxes at this stage. And then you also want to basically be in touch with your manufacturers to make sure that, are they still making the same products that they were making before COVID broke out? Because some of my bag manufacturers, the bag demand has gone way down, but essentially the machinery, the sewing machines is still cut and sew, and making a mask is still cut and sew is the same way a bag is. So they now pivoted into different products. And then also as a result of a lack of orders, now their workers, you know, they've got workers in their factory which don't have much to do. So they leave and they go to other factories where there are jobs. So they might not even have the capacity which they used to have before. So I would definitely reach out if you're thinking about, you know, reordering what you're doing, to say like, hey, do you still have the same capacity that you had? And also, are you still making the same products that you were before? And the other thing is that just, you know, I wouldn't panic and rushing in to, you know, like selling something. Maybe even just work with your manufacturer to say, you know, what else have you been supplying around the world? Because your manufacturer has also got customers in Germany, in Australia, like in Brazil, and be like, hey, you know, what sort of products are you doing for COVID in these countries? Is there anything I can jump on the back of? Have you got an order for 10,000 pieces of something that you think will sell well in USA? Let me know what it is. I might just add a quick order as well. You know, so this is why like open communication is really important with partners that you trust and you've built up a relationship with, as opposed to someone you're emailing for the first time. So you just need to be very, very careful how you manage that.
Yeah. Abis says, Kian, is there a concern about developing something for lockdown, only for lockdown to lift as you start receiving inventory?
So I would never develop something just for lockdown, because with anything, you have to have a long-term vision. Kind of what we talked about at the beginning of the show. We might see our behaviors change as a result of lockdown. So you are basically bringing in a lockdown product, but only because you feel that behavior is going to last even after COVID is over. But I would never bring in a product just for COVID, because COVID could end in 2 weeks. You know, hopefully that's the case. But you know, it could end whenever. We'll never know. They could have a vaccination whenever. So that's a very risky strategy.
Cool. Hi, Kian. What do you use as an alternative to trade assurance? Could you please expand on that? Thanks, Patricia.
I use Trust because I've been to see all these guys and we're good friends and stuff like that. So, okay, but one good way to avoid sort of scams and things like that is that something that's happened to us a few times is that your supplier's email address gets hacked. And sometimes like you get an email right before a payment to say, hey, by the way, can you now pay into this bank account? Because whatever, it's now going through Hong Kong or something like that. And whenever there's a change of a bank account, pick up the phone and call your supplier and be like, hey, I got an email about a change of bank account. Did this actually happen? And then like 9 times out of 10, they didn't, and their emails just got hacked. So definitely check on the phone before switching any sort of bank accounts. But also, you know, staying on payments, now could be a good time to ask for credit. Because, you know, you can say, hey, look, my business is in trouble a little bit. Sales are down. Amazon not taking, you know, non-essential items, all this sort of stuff, COVID sales, you know, I could really use your support. And bear in mind, when we talked before about trading companies versus factories, factories are a lot more likely to give you support because they're the actual financier of the product, as opposed to the trading company who just takes your deposit and passes it on to the factory. So if you are dealing with factories, you can also even ask for credit, maybe 30 days credit. You'd be like, hey, maybe I can order more products, or maybe like I can pay you back at a certain date once I get these amount of sales, but can you support me grow my business at this time? We need to act fast. So yeah, now's a good time to ask for credit as well.
Cool. Sometimes I find a product on Amazon and see potential, but cannot get proper prices from a Chinese supplier, Alibaba, and in brackets to sell it so it's profitable. Wondering how other sellers are doing it. What is your minimum return on investment when you choose a product?
So it's interesting.
So you've got 2 hours on your end to go through this question. It's the big one. Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
No, it's super interesting because, like, okay, Alibaba is not the best source, but you know, for beginners, it's kind of like you've got no choice. But the very interesting thing is that I would always suggest going to the Canton Fair. Obviously, this year, actually in June, is the first time the Canton Fair is now going online. So this is a huge opportunity because we always get the advantage because we always go to China. So we get to see the products at the fair before everyone else. We get to meet the suppliers. We get to see all the different products from all different suppliers under one roof in one day, develop the products. Huge advantage. But now that's gone away. And so now it's a level playing field. And because the Canton Fair goes online, the Canton Fair has way better suppliers than Alibaba, because like the Canton Fair, like the people who display their products there don't necessarily even list on Alibaba because their factories are so good that their production lines are full that they don't need to advertise because their production lines are already full because they're a great factory. And now those are the factories you're going to have access to. So they haven't really stated what this online Canton Fair is going to look like, but I think it begins in like 47 days or something like that. Not that I'm counting, but as soon as they basically open up like how they're going to do it, I'm going to make a video for my group or something like that about what's the best way to navigate that. But that's going to be a huge hack and a huge cheat code that now everyone's going to have access to the best factories. And wondering what the minimum ROI is, it purely depends on the category. It's like they're all very different. It depends if it's like a licensed product, but minimum, I don't know.
Can I pitch in on that? I think that when people are like really obsessing around ROI and everyone's like waiting for us to say a minimum of like 100%, 200%, whatever, it really comes down to your lead time. Like if I have a product that takes me, I don't know, 2 weeks for the manufacturer to make, right? Because those products exist. I have like five products that take 2 weeks to make. They're very, very simple to make. And then usually in normal life, right, before COVID, okay, I would air express them because it made sense for this specific product. And I have good rates on my air express as well. I could get it into America, into Amazon, but like less than 30 days, right? So when you have a product that you can get in within 30 days, you don't need to now buy 4 or 5 months in advance, and you don't need your cash to be sitting inside of that inventory. You can buy times 2.5, let's say 2 months ahead, right? What happens when you have a product that takes like 60 days lead time just to get it into America, let's say, and let's say another 2 weeks by the time Amazon a week until Amazon actually accepts it, blah, blah, blah. You need to buy a few months of inventory in advance, and that's a lot of money that you need to have, especially if it's an expensive product. So people are always obsessing around ROI. It's ROI and lead time together, right?
I manufacture a lot of stuff in the UK. It takes 2.5 weeks. Generally, maybe 3. I get paid out by Amazon every 2 weeks. I've got 30 days net with the supplier.
So that's the thing. So you're not having a lot of money sitting just in inventory. So that means I tell this to a lot of people who are just starting. I'm like, if you have, I'm just going to make it up now, like 10K, right? Yeah. Why the hell would you go and buy, like, I'm just making it up now, 2,000 units of a product that takes 2 weeks to make if you don't know how well it's going to sell on Amazon, right? You can estimate, etc. But like lead time has a lot to do with that as well, in my opinion, because a lot of people just obsess only over their ROI. So like the typical answer is going to be 100, a minimum of 100 ROI, but it goes together with your lead time. If you can find a product that doesn't take forever to make, right? If you can find a product or find products that take a few weeks to make, or let's say 30 days to get it into Amazon, or 35 days to get into Amazon, you only need about 60 days of inventory with you. And then you can, like, right, am I doing the calculate? Yeah, 2.5 times, however much you can take it. And that means that's freeing up a lot of money. So if you have 10K and your initial order is only going to be like 500 units because you can get your next order in quickly, you only need to put a small amount into your first order, right? Yeah. And that first order is going to make you money. It will take you time until you're set. You'll need to use more of the chunk of money that you have into your next order. But that means that you have more money for another product as well, right? So ROI goes together with lead time, right? That's, in my opinion, something that a lot of people miss out on. If anyone wants to add on that, that's what I have.
No, you're right. You've got to look at all the different mechanics that are involved in it. And lead time is going to eat up cash flow. And so, you want to look at how many turns of inventory you can do a year if you want to look at it on an annual basis rather than a quarterly. Sorry, Kian.
No, I was going to say, you're 100% right. But especially at this time as well, like, I think we discussed on a show previously, like the air freight costs are going crazy right now because of the lack of supply, because obviously it was the commercial airlines that they were using for air cargo. And now there's just a lot less of them in the air. So there's a massive pile up. price has gone up and you've been limited to how much you can send. I think it's like 50 kilos by air. So exactly to your strategy, I think it's like, well, now you actually have to triple check the costings as well of sending by air, but then maybe that strategy is better adopted once we get out of this like COVID situation as well.
Air is not something that I would suggest to most people right now. It's also kind of impossible. It's mostly going to need to be sea during COVID, mostly. So Kian and I are both good friends with Rafael, so we both are quiet on the end. Rafael from Unicargo. So
he's been mooching around on the stream. He hasn't asked any questions, but I have seen him here. Elchin's come back. Thanks, Kian and Sharon, for the great answer. What is your suggestion about using a sourcing agent for product sourcing? When I've been to Canton Fair, most of the best factories didn't have an Alibaba account, which is true. Is it possible sourcing agents can get better deals? Of course they can from these type of factories, without a doubt. But Kian, you're the master here.
Well, I was going to say, like, I don't like using sourcing agents, and I've never used a sourcing agent.
No, but you are a sourcing agent, effectively, aren't you? You're not going to give someone your job. You're one of the best in the game. Why would you give that to someone else to do?
Can I answer this? Your best thing to do is to book a call with Kian, and Kian will help you find the type of factory that you need. That is the best answer. I found Kian when I needed a sourcing agent for a specific product. That's the truth. That's how Kian and I became good friends, and now like working on different projects together. So like it's kind of a silly, not a silly question, but it's kind of a funny question for Kian. But it's part of what Kian does, and he's very, very good at it. So
I appreciate it. But I think that, like, you know, if you have used a sourcing agent in the past, now more than ever is where they can earn their money, because essentially, like, a sourcing agent is now boots on the ground, and we don't have the opportunity now to go to China. So as I was saying, like, you know, if your factories are pivoting into other products or they have less people in their workforce, well, a sourcing agent, if they do their job properly, you know, they will go to actually visit the factory and they will see what's going on. The reason why I don't like using sourcing agents in China is because, first of all, the sourcing agent owns the relationship between that purchase to the factory, and there's so many benefits of the relationship that have just been taken away if you use a sourcing agent. And the other thing is as well that a sourcing agent will place orders to factories, which incentivizes them, not necessarily what's the best for your business. So that's why I don't like working with sourcing agents. But in these times, they might be able to do you a solid, because they can get into factories which we can't get into at the moment.
Do you know the other reason why you would use a sourcing agent like me? I hate sourcing. I hate it with a passion. Personally, looking for products, I'd rather stick pins in my eyes now because it's so laborious. I'd rather use a sourcing agent and give them that job. But the downside of that is I lose the relationship with the factory because I work on a percentage of production and manufacturing. It's different with the products that source to the UK. I own that relationship. But if I was to do any more in China, I only have one product now come from China. But if I did, I'd hand that over because I just don't find that bit enjoyable. I love PPC. I like ranking. I like market. Do you know what I mean? I'm speaking to you, Kian, but you love it. Yeah. This is what you live. If I need to know about sourcing, I'll just come to you and say, what do I do? Right? Or I'll pay someone to do it who's an expert who wants to do it. So your answer is going to be down to, is it something that you enjoy as part of the process? A lot of people hate PPC, so they'll use an agency like ours. Does that make sense? And then they'll focus on what they love doing, which might be branding and product sourcing as well, you know?
Absolutely.
Besides China.
So Elchin says here, look, same here. So I'm not too far off the beaten track here. Same here, also hate sourcing process.
I want to make sourcing fun for everyone, right?
Yeah.
This is why I've created a YouTube channel and why I've got a group. So I'm going to take the pain away from sourcing.
Exactly. But there are people out there who don't like accounting and stuff like that. You know, so that you work to your strengths. And there are people out there who obviously would love this as well. Okay, so Henrietta says, where else do you source besides China? Right now, I'm only sourcing in China. Started in India a couple of months ago. Really hoping to source more outside of China. Any tips?
It depends on the product. I have a product that's made in Poland. I mean, it depends on what the product is.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one to answer like that, I think.
Yeah, I would say as well, like, sorry, for certain categories of products, like let's say bags, right? Bags got a huge tariff hit. You know, it went up to like 44% from China to the US, but like Vietnam I think stayed at 25 or something like that, or maybe between 17 and 25. So now you can sort of make a decision. Well, yeah, Vietnam's not as good as China, but I'm going to get slightly less duty rate. And then what I've noticed, because China know that the prices are going up in China as a result of the growing middle class and all that sort of stuff. Well, they've now invested in factories in other countries. So one of my bag factories has set up a factory in Myanmar. So they're using like Myanmar workers, which are a lot less. They're sending the raw materials from China to Myanmar. They've got Chinese staff, setting up the production lines, but they're hiring like local workers. So they're going to have like the same sort of quality, the same output, but they're going to have Myanmar prices. And then they're also going to have Myanmar like export duty rates as well, which are going to be a lot cheaper. So I think we'll see this a lot more. But even though these factories will be in other countries, they'll still be Chinese run. And obviously, like India is an option as well, but India is only strong in certain categories of products. It's not like you can't just get everything there. So you just have to really look at your categories, and then have maybe a China +1 strategy, have a backup for outside of China.
Yeah, back here with Henrietta, she said, I started using a sourcing agent that I met at the Canton Fair and absolutely think it's one of my best decisions because she hates sourcing as well. But the reason she wants to ask outside is I'm trying to source wooden home decor from China, but it has a 35% tariff. So that's why she's looking elsewhere.
Wooden products, I think there's other countries that she could possibly look at. Yeah, apart from just those areas, I think there's other. This is the kind of stuff I check with Rafael, but I'm almost sure that there's even like Mexico and things like that. That there's people forget like Mexico.
Wooden products. Look at Japan, and Japan is 7 days by sea from China.
Really?
Yes.
So, by China. Okay. So I've never looked at Japan but So this is something I learned from Rafael, who's the CEO of Unicargo. There's a website, which I've now forgotten what the website is. There's a website you can go to and you can see what types of products were mostly exported out of that country. And then you can see, like, I wish I remember what the website is. Next time you have it on, ask him to speak about it. And it actually shows.
That was a bit of a teaser, wasn't it? Yeah. There's a lot
of countries that people like forget about as well. Even Mexico, you need to remember it's like on the border with America, and it's going to save you a lot of money on sourcing products from there as well, bringing into America because of the shipping and stuff. So, and also the lead time. So I need to remember what that website is. Do you know what website I'm talking about, Danny?
No, but we can post it on the replay. So it's fine.
I'll have a look at it's a really good, like it really shows you what countries. I don't think that every product is replaceable when it comes to China, like toys and things like that. I don't really think there's a country, I don't know, Kian, maybe, I mean, you're the China guy, but I don't think everything needs to not be sourced from China, but there are products that make sense to not source from China as well.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point, because a lot of people say like, oh, can I source this somewhere else? And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe you can source somewhere else. But remember, if you go elsewhere with your sourcing, do they have the skilled workforce that China has? Do they have the scaling capacity that China has? Like if you need 10,000 units in 30 days, there's no other country in the world apart from China that can get that to you. So you have to really consider like what benefits are you losing by taking that away from China?
Yeah. It needs to make sense.
Cool. Let's well, I've got more questions. I was going to say, let's wrap that there, but let's answer people's questions here. So Henrietta says, Japan isn't very expensive, ? Maybe so. Depends on the products. If you sell premium products, plus you get what you pay for. And I know from selling in the Japanese market previously, they value high quality items like the Germans do as well. So the workmanship may be more expensive, but it depends on what you're selling. Yarrow says, what is the model to work with a sourcing agent? I pay a percentage for every unit helped with. So normally they do is a flat fee for sourcing the product. And if you go forward from there, it's then percentage on every turn of inventory, but that can change from there. Kian? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. And that was one of the negative things with working with a sourcing agent is that, like, you know, sometimes they take a percentage of the order value. Well, they're now incentivized to give you a slightly higher price because, you know, then they're going to make a little bit more money. Or if they keep the price the same, sometimes they'll just work with the suppliers, which the supplier will then give the sourcing agent a fee for bringing in business. So they're kind of getting paid on both ends. And whenever I just work with any Amazon private label sellers, I don't get involved in that. Like, I don't get involved with the pricing, because I never want my job to be incentivized to buy the price. You know what I mean? It should always be by what's the quality and what's the best factory I can get you, and it's always just like a one-off.
Cool. Anna says, great info from you guys. Quick questions. What about consumables as the first product? Always a good idea, because a customer can come back and buy more from you. What are your thoughts about sourcing in the US? Great idea. I think mentally people's attitudes will change. It's terrible to source outside of China because they're already ready to do business. When you do the US and UK, it can be very painful because their mindset and their attitude. So some people may ignore you, some people may not come back to you, or sometimes they give you ridiculous MOQs like 60,000 or so. So if you can find a supplier in the US, build a brand story behind it, and do consumables, and have a recurring customer under 30 days, that's not a bad business, because if you come off Amazon and do it on your own Shopify site, you haven't got to rely on just one person coming to buy a product. You can have a long-term value of a customer when they come back. Anyone want to add on that?
I have a lot of clients that's in America, and I am very much for it. Americans in general love buying American made. It has to make sense. But there are a lot of products, even like terrible product example, but it comes to my head, even bath bombs, right? I've got someone who was one of the first sellers of bath bombs, and they're made in America. So there are a lot of products that it makes sense. There's also a lot of products that it doesn't, but Americans love American made.
Yeah, and one sort of quick hack, I would check the legalities of this before you make any changes. But I've seen some brands, rather than saying made in China, they say made in PRC, which is People's Republic of China. And the first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell is PRC? And then I figured it out. Oh, you got it. Oh, yeah, cool.
I've got a there in the background, see? I've got PRC USA in Australia.
And it was actually a big fashion brand. I saw it in Milan. It was a brand called Bali, and Bali shoes, so it said made in PRC. So if big brands are doing it, maybe it's okay. So if you think that your audience is going to be annoyed with the word China on your product, then just switch it to PRC and let us know how you get on, because then we can all do it.
What is it that Apple products, they put lovely made in
designed in California, made in China.
That's it. Yeah.
I have on most of my products made in PRC, and it's actually illegal. Like, you're allowed to write made in PRC. PRC in China is the same thing at the end of the day.
Cool. Right, let's wrap there. Just give you a rundown of the shows happening this week. Tomorrow, I did have a show lined up, but it's changed, so I will update you there tomorrow. On Wednesdays, part 2 of our failed products and funny stories. Lee Ram will be returning with Norm Ferrer and others on the show. Thursday is our part 3 on Shopify and off Amazon. Friday, Steve Simonson rejoins me for a dual cast, Awesomers versus Seller Sessions. Saturday the 25th is our return of Women of Amazon. This one is going to be an in-depth profile on Isabella Hamilton. And then on Sunday, we've got Mindset Sunday, where we're back to deconstructing Naval on part 2. Guys, how can people reach you before we go?
Sharon?
I can be found Sharon Even on YouTube, on Instagram, and Facebook. It's official Sharon Even, and my Facebook group is Amazon FBA Alphas. That's me. Excellent.
And Kian?
Socially, if you want to hit me up, Instagram, Kian_JG. I need to figure out the phonetic alphabet, because I never know what's the word for J and G. You guys know? Let's say John and golf, right? Kian _ John and golf. And then Facebook group, Sourcing with Kian.
Which is in the ticker below. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Sourcing with Kian. Let's connect there. I just answer any sourcing questions. And the community is getting quite big now, actually. I'm getting a lot of requests, so I need to figure out how to manage all of that. But no, it's cool. It's good fun.
Cool. Guys, I'll be back here at 4 p.m. tomorrow, day 37 on lockdown. Hope you've been enjoying the show. Stay home, stay safe. Lots of love to all. Take care. See you again tomorrow.
See you guys.